The Regents podcast. The Regents podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Regents podcast.
Welcome.
I'm Ellen.
And I am Aja.
And we are
Two best friends
who quit their jobs.
to pursue our passions.
Follow along with the podcast.
Oh, man.
Welcome
I love
back,
how every week it's a
everyone.
little different.
Every
Yes.
week it's a little different.
It's a little different every
Don't
week. We
box us
keep it
in
fresh like
creatively.
that.
Exactly.
Hello?
Exactly.
We don't like boxes.
No,
Okay.
we don't want to be
We're
boxed in. We
outside
don't
of the
want to be
lines.
told who we can. We are multi-hyphenates.
That's right. That we are.
That's the truth.
Multifaceted individuals.
Exactly. Well, as you can see, different location for me.
Absolutely.
I'm recording from my childhood home in a very beige room. All of the beautifulness of the rooms.
What you're not going to do is downplay this room that you're in. Okay?
Oh, no, guys, look, here we go. I'm in the bedroom that I stayed in when I moved back from college. This isn't technically my childhood bedroom. The childhood bedroom is the other room, but that was converted into a bit of a closet for my parents, I would say. It's like a closet situation. There is also a treadmill not getting
so
used.
I can come over there and get my steps in.
Maybe a couple years ago you could have, but now it's really just like
Nowadays, no.
it like hangs a lot of stuff on it, you know?
Okay. Yes, I've heard of that.
Yes. So we are in the other bedroom, which is basically like a guest bedroom now.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
But did I live in here when
Pretty
I was in
flower.
high school? No, I still lived in my bedroom in high school. My closet was in here though. This is a mirror closet. Nice closet my mom had done. I lived in I used to call it my Harry Potter room because
Why?
it was so small. Literally, there was only one place that you could put the bed because if I moved the bed, so basically the room I grew up in was an L. Okay. And the place where the L opens, the open part of the L was a half height closet because that's where the staircase was. So you come up the staircase in my house to the bathroom and then you turn to the right and there's my bedroom.
So it was like a low.
And it's just you walk in and it's like very small room.
Only one place to go.
Little tiny little faux little closet situation. And then it's also the access point to the attic. So it was like yeah. It wasn't like, and it wasn't, we don't have a finished attic either where it could have been like, oh, I have like I have a loft or anything.
That would have been cool.
That would have been so cool. No, that's not what I had.
Well, you should have made that a project. That would have been
I did like my closet though. I did try to make my closet like maybe a moment for every once in a while. Like when I was younger, I think I tried to make it like a seated spot to read or like put like a little, I put like lights over there, but then
make it a little nook.
Yeah, but then I was like, I need a place to put my clothes because my sister was in this room with the closet.
Okay.
And it was like I would have to run in here to get clothes.
Okay.
So I was like, this isn't really working either.
It can no longer be my reading corner.
Yeah. It's so funny. But my room was like multicolor. My room, do you want to talk about like creativity from youth? I had like, I think it was yellow and purple. So the top of the room was painted yellow, top half. This bottom half, I think, was purple. And then the center had this like, 6-inch border where the colors met. And it said, I love you with all my hearts in all these different, very 90s aqua color hearts.
Really?
Yeah. Very like, very like
interesting,
drawn looking, but like hearts. And then the trim.
Yeah.
So you see how the trim on this window?
Yes.
The trim of the room was pink.
Wow.
I picked the whole thing.
Of course you did.
I was 6,
7
when we moved down here.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was my very colorful creative bedroom that I was
very colorful.
I loved
Yellow, purple.
Yeah. Now it's blue.
What kind of purple? Is it like deep purple, lavender?
It was like
true purple.
it was like It was a very like matte style paint look.
Okay.
So it wasn't like rich deep color. It was very like light, but it was on the darker side of lilac.
Okay. I got you.
I would say a darker side of lilac, and then like a
Mm.
light warm, like not warm, but like soft yellow,
Okay.
like a buttery soft yellow, daffodilly
Mm.
kind of vibe.
Okay. We love it.
Yeah, and then the
She
pink
was
was
in
like
her
a
interior
soft,
design
sweet
bag.
pink. I mean, truly, like, let's talk about
Very early
creativity.
age.
Like, she was a creative
Oh
genius over
man.
here.
Listen,
It was like a quintessential 90s
stylizing.
bedroom. Like, really, it was
Yeah. Yeah.
very 90s bedroom. Hardcore.
Okay. Hardcore.
Yeah. Did you
I would
have
have loved
like,
to see that.
did you have like a painted room, or was it one color or like wallpaper?
It was one color.
Yeah.
I got to add the flair with all of like the accessories and the
Mm.
pillows and the comfort, like that's where all my
Yeah.
themes and the rugs and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So, no,
See, I didn't
we didn't
have
really
like
like paint
stuff.
a lot.
I didn't have like
Okay.
stuff in there. Like I had things that were
Oh,
mine, but
yeah.
it wasn't like themed of any like or any like yeah, it was like things that accumulated, but it wasn't like stylized. The only thing
Right. It
that
wasn't
was the
carefully
color.
curated.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Just the walls.
Yeah, just
Just
the
the walls.
walls.
That's
Yeah,
it. Yeah, yeah. No, I'd say mine was like stylized that way with all of the things
the things.
in
Okay.
it. Yeah, the walls. I guess my
Oh
parents were like, "We're not about to keep painting."
no.
So,
But you know what's so funny? I do think about this. Like I'll see on, on TikTok, like people
hmm
like you see kids and they're like, painting their bedroom walls or something, or they're just like, doing their creativity. They're like putting out their creative energy in some form or fashion. And I think, I don't know, maybe this was like a time in the 90s and everyone was just like, no, the house value. Like if you're going to show the house, because there was a time when my parents we were going to move and they were showing the house and it was like, no, you can't do this to the rooms. Like you have to like,
oh,
you can't do
okay,
anything to your
right.
rooms.
Keep
And
it
then
neutral. Da da
keep
da.
it new. Yeah, exactly. Um, and then when I got into high school, I think is when we painted the rooms because now my old room is blue, which is obviously another
Oh,
choice of my
okay.
own.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting because I see kids and I'm just like, this kid on like a Friday night gets this idea to like paint something and then
hmm
they like start painting it in their room and it's like by Sunday they haven't left the house and it's like this murals on the wall and it's like that's so
Wow.
cool
Yeah.
that a parent would have the forethought or just the like it is what it is. If we need to paint over it, we'll paint over it. Paint's just paint
Because
kind of thing.
that's it. It's just paint.
Because
Yeah.
in the past, I don't think maybe that's not what everyone was thinking back in the day. It was
hmm
just like, no, we're not going through all of the like rigmarole of painting and changing and sanding and whatever. Also, I think
Yeah.
paint technology, quite frankly, has gotten much better because you don't have to
That
do
part.
what's that coat of white before.
Primer.
Thank you. That's
Yes.
what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Some of them are like all in one, just
Exactly.
need it.
Oh my god.
Mhm.
And also can we talk about primer? How like you put primer on
Sure.
walls for painting
Mhm.
and now we put primer on our face for makeup?
Yes. We paint our faces.
Dude, I ran out of my primer and I've been putting on makeup like thick to do all the like the live streams that I've been hosting. When
Yeah.
I tell you a constellation of mini pimples is all over my face because it's every day I'm putting on like a full beat of makeup, like
Full coverage. Yeah,
layered
yeah, yeah.
contour, like the works. And I
Yeah,
ran out
yeah.
of my primer. So there's like
Oof.
that layer between my moisturizer and
Yep.
skincare and makeup. There wasn't like
And makeup.
that paint layer.
Of course, it wasn't the
So
primer.
I was like, my
So we
face is
could
like
see all the
reacting, I'm like having a reaction. And then I was like,
Right, right.
and I was like, I need like theater level makeup remover too, because like I'll wash
Mm.
my face and then I'll tone and I'll be like, there's still makeup coming off with the
Ooh,
toner. So
yeah,
now
with
I'm
the
doing like
toner.
2 or 3 washes. I'm like, okay, well now you're stripping your skin of every
Now,
piece of oil. I'm like, I need to find
uh,
like now that I've become like this professional live streamer, I really need to find like a new system because
I
I
have
mean,
something for you.
my brand is my
I will show
face.
you up.
You do?
Listen, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I was
Yeah.
like, I need something
Um,
new.
You do, because you gotta make sure it's off. And then too, you don't wanna overuse I heard what you said about stripping the oil from your face, but
Yeah.
more so too, I'm using a lot of product. Now my cleanser's gonna go faster because I'm gonna
Oh,
have to do 2 or 3 washes, like,
this is what I'm saying.
no,
Okay, let me
no.
tell you this, okay? The industry when it comes to like women and our makeup and our hair and da da da. I
Mhm.
remember when I first started working and I was doing like my makeup every morning to go to Lego. Like I was like doing makeup, like getting ready, like da da da. And then I realized because I
Yeah.
was making no money.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is very expensive. Going to work is costing me money. Like it's not just
Right,
gas,
right.
it's not like the
Not
occasional
just me
coffee. I
getting
was like,
there.
I spent no money anywhere. I was like, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything. I can't afford anything. I can just afford to live in the apartment or house I'm living in and drive to
Right,
work,
right.
you know,
And get there.
and get
That's it.
there and back,
Right,
and
right, right.
I was like, I like stopped wearing makeup to that job because I was like, I
An
can't
active
afford
protest.
it. I can't afford it. I was like, I'm running out of makeup. I
Oh my
can't wear it out.
gosh.
And like when I need
Right,
to,
right. When I
you
really,
know?
really want
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. And then
Listen, it takes a
yeah,
lot to be a woman,
it
okay?
does. And
Yes, it
then
does.
I became someone who like doesn't really wear makeup to work kind of vibes. I like kind
Mhm.
of stopped wearing makeup to work. And
Yeah.
then when I started working at I honestly can't even remember if I did or didn't really wear makeup to Vogue. I honestly don't think I really wore much makeup. If
Okay.
anything, maybe I wore like, BB creams or something and like mascara.
Yeah.
But I really didn't do anything makeup wise. But then when I started working at refinery, we had all these kinds of things happening. We're being photographed all the time. Then I was going in and recording in the studio. If it was a
Mhm.
day that I was going to go record, my hair and makeup would be done. And
Yeah.
then I would come into the office and people would be like, oh my God, Ellen, like,
Who are you?
you look amazing. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
isn't like the movie She's All That. Like she takes her glasses off and her hair is down. And it's just like,
Right, and she just says
but that's honestly what it felt like. Like every time I would come in with the full makeup, people,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well,
Like, "Oh, look at
there's that
her."
Tyra Banks
I
quote. If
love
we're going to
that.
talk about a quote, the Tyra Banks quote of like, some people need makeup. She goes, some people need makeup. I am one of those people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tyra Banks said something to that effect because if you see her without makeup, it's really like she does look very different.
Okay. I saw her on the, Victoria's Secret thing.
She
Did
the
you see
Victoria's
that?
Secret fashion show.
Uh-huh.
I
I
have. You
did.
know what? I've only ever watched that once.
That was the first time I ever saw it. Just, I don't know, a
Really?
month ago?
This
Yes.
okay. Well, honestly, it's probably a better time. Oh gosh, guys, I'm sitting on a bed, guys. It is what it is. Um,
It is what it is.
it's probably a better time to have watched it because I think they're
Yeah.
trying to make efforts for things to be more inclusive for like different gender identities, but also
Sizes
for
and
sizes
bodies.
and stuff. Although I did
Yeah.
hear some fodder about how all the women that were bigger were wearing like more covered up outfits.
Oh,
I know. I'm also the
I
kind of
can't
person
really
that's like,
recall.
okay, we're having progress, but now we're going to nitpick the progress. I'm like, I kind of live somewhere in between the like,
Yeah.
I'm glad of progress, but then I also nitpick the progress. I think I live somewhere in
Mhm.
between, but I'm more so glad than not glad,
Of course.
you
Yeah.
know?
Right, right, right.
But I
Yeah.
remember when it was like, it's so funny when I was in college,
Mhm.
people like were like, oh, the Victoria's Secret fashion show, we have to watch it. And it's funny, I literally had not really even had a concept of it
Yeah.
until I went to
Neither
college.
did I. I think, yeah, I would say the same. And you want to know why? Because our fashion show, there was, and I
Oh,
really don't
everyone,
know why
Aja
we
is an
had a
actual
fashion show.
model. She has walked in a fashion show. Oh, so have I,
The
actually, now that I think
BSU
about it.
Fashion Show. Oh
BSU
my
Fashion
gosh.
Show.
Shout out. Brr, 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 brr. Um, I don't know why we had a lingerie scene like it was a Victoria's Secret show, but we did.
At school?
Girl, every year.
How come I was never
Every
invited?
year. You didn't have to be invited. It was it wasn't a Victoria's Secret, like, actual New York Fashion Week type deal.
It wasn't
But
pre-recorded.
it wasn't, but, yeah, we had a legit, like
Who wore the lingerie?
and looking back, the students, Ellen.
But why?
Yes. I don't know. This
Who
is
was
why
the
I'm telling you.
advisor? All right, who was the
It wasn't
advisor?
even about the advisor because our advisor was absolutely amazing, but I just don't I don't know why we did that. You know, when
Yeah.
you're okay, when you're in college, you're just like, "Oh my gosh, we're about to have a, da da da." But now I'm like, I'm older and I'm just like, why are
You're
y'all
like,
doing
why was there
this?
a lingerie portion of the show?
First of all, this is to raise
Somebody
funds for
somebody somewhere was like, he's gonna know what
okay,
he's missing.
yeah.
Well,
It was
that
very, very risque. Okay.
that actually is what happened with Prince William in England and Kate, his now bride, his wife.
Hmm.
They did like a little breakup. And in that time, she went and walked in a charity fashion show, and she walked
Okay.
in the swimsuit, I don't know if she walked in every section of it, but I know she walked in a swimsuit, like a bikini
Okay.
style with like a cover up that was like see
Bikini.
through, like and like tied off at the like the hip type, covered
Wow,
but
since they've been
uncovered.
married?
No, 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 no. This is right. This is when they
Oh,
broke
okay.
up for a little while, like
Okay, got you.
college to,
Okay.
the classic, like,
Before
oh
she
my
was the
god,
Duchess.
we're going to be together forever. This scares me. We're going to break up. And then we're going to get back
Yeah, yeah,
together in
yeah.
6 months and get married and have kids. The like,
Yeah,
is this my
yeah.
person for the
Okay.
rest of my life? You know,
Right, I'm too
I feel like I
young.
know so many people that have done that, like, or even celebrities where it's like, no way this is it. Like, no way I met my person.
Mm,
Like, oh my God, this can't be
yeah.
it. Then they break up and then they realize, oh, that is my
No, you're
person.
the
Okay,
one.
let's go back. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I could list them, right?
Wow.
You've got Justin Timberlake and and Jessica Biel. You've got Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom. You've got,
What? Wait,
yeah,
you know I don't know this.
all these couples
Katy Perry
dated.
and Orlando Bloom did what?
They dated,
They're
then broke
married?
up, and girl, they're married with a kid.
Katy Perry has a child? Listen, guys, I find out so much on this podcast.
I mean, honestly, it's not like she's like pop culture. Like she's a part of the culture, but she's
Interesting.
not
She's
like,
a part of it, but yeah, she's
yeah,
not
it's not like
Taylor
she's like
Swift
being like, I
at this
don't
point.
follow her that closely.
She has wow.
She
And
also had her
Orlando
most recent
Bloom.
album like co-produced by Dr. Luke.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
in poor
that face.
taste. In poor
Oh.
taste. Well, because he did the whole Kesha drama. The Kesha.
Dr. Luke did?
Yeah,
I thought it was
bad
someone else.
stuff.
Okay.
Bad stuff.
Oh, wow.
And then she put out a
Yeah.
song, like Katy Perry put out like a pro female song that was like co-produced by Dr. Luke, and everyone's like,
This is
that
strange.
doesn't really read right, Katie.
Right,
So
right.
anyway, so they're like
Oh,
another
wow.
example of a couple. So anyway, so like
Okay.
William and Kate got back together after he saw her walk at this fashion show in her little
Mhm. I bet
lingerie
he would
bikini
wanna get
moment.
back with her, right?
It was like the way that the press does it is like a, this is what you're missing
This is
moment.
what she hello. She was just like, "Okay, if we out
She's
here,
like, if
we out
we're
here.
gonna be broken up, then we're gonna be broken
I'm free
up.
to do whatever."
Yeah.
That's right.
And
We're
that
gonna
was the
be
last
broken
time
up.
she did anything for herself. She became the queen. Wait, I want to know more about like a
Ah,
student run fashion show. Do you
okay.
feel like, what was it, chaos behind the stage? Like, I just can't believe that there was this
Yes.
whole thing happening on campus and I was not aware of
Yeah.
it until like after the
You
fact.
weren't?
Dude,
So
no, like
wait,
I said, you never invited me.
that's it must have been before we knew each other. I'm
I
trying to
think so too.
remember.
What year was it? I'm like,
Well, I
I
did
must have
it
been, because how
all
could you have not invited me?
that's how I can't even
How was
believe
I
that
not
you weren't
there?
there. I can't remember which year because I was one of the producers. Like we had they tried something different where it was like four different teams of producers for the show. So each team had like a different scene or whatever that we would
Okay.
produce. As whereas in the past, it had been just like two people producing the entire
Decentralized.
fashion show. Yeah, with their all of their scenes and ideas,
Okay.
whatever. So um, but I was in the fashion show. I want to say it might have been. I know I was in it sophomore. I think freshman year was the time that I like watched it.
Okay.
Then sophomore year, I think I was in it. Maybe it was junior year that I co-produced, and then senior year, I don't even think I went or looked at. I don't know. But it was okay. It was a lot. We had rehearsals. And
Mm.
ours is this is the BSU. And for those of you who don't know, BSU stands for either the Black Student Union or in our case at UHeart, it was Brothers and Sisters United.
Okay.
So it was actually a fundraiser
Okay.
to raise money like for the organization itself.
Okay.
But um it was over the top. We were extra. So it wasn't just people walking down in different fashions. Like we had choreography. It was very carefully curated, okay?
Really?
Yeah, like so we learned how to, open and close your book on the runway. We had like
What's the
intricate
open and close your
stages.
book? What's that?
When you first like walk out like, from backstage or whatever. And let's say you're coming from like you're obviously coming like this and then you have to face like this. So as soon as you turn like this, you open your book. You just okay, I'm here.
Pose.
Now I'm
Okay.
walking. Yes, you pose. You go down, turn or whatever, close the book and then you walk away. Like whatever.
I never
So,
heard of that as open and close the book.
yeah, well there was a phrase that everybody who was in a fashion show understands.
Oh my
I
God.
don't know if it's an industry standard phrase, but it was for the
Well,
U Heart
I
fashion
did
show.
the fashion show for Sorel during New York Fashion Week in New York, like during
Okay.
at Refinery.
Nice.
And that was a whole experience, but it was the concept was like a mile long runway. And so
Okay.
the runway, you opened the book and the book never closed.
And it never closed.
So you
You're
walked
just reading through the
through,
book.
people sat and watched you walk, and then there was camera crews all throughout the 1 mile walk, and it ended at the Highline Amphitheater because there's all these like stacked seats, and then you had an assigned
Mm,
position of like this is where you're gonna go and stand, and it ended, and
okay.
the whole thing was like live streamed and on camera, so everyone that was sitting watching the runway show then watched
Yeah.
us walk the streets of New York.
Oh,
It was the whole
wow.
thing, but again, I
Interesting.
never closed my book. I only opened it.
Just never closed it. I just walked home and that
Whoa,
was
what an experience. I just
Oh
walked
man.
home. No, I had to walk my ass back and get my bags. I worked out. I'm flat-footed. That wasn't
You just
pleasant for
walked
me.
a mile of these New York City streets.
In Sorel winter rain, like snow boots.
Okay.
And it was raining.
That's
How
funny.
unfortunate for them. They do this whole
Oh, bad
outdoor
idea,
thing and
guys.
then it
Great
starts to
idea.
like rain. I'm like, you guys should have picked like a less climate
Rain
heavy
prone
place.
time. Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, go to LA for this shit.
Right, where it never
Okay, so
rains.
wait. So did you
Oh
have
man.
multiple looks or did you wear one look?
Yes. Yeah. Like, so when you were in the fashion show, and listen, this was like a real production where we had a stage. Like, I remember one year the stage was an X. So it was like a square and then like
Was
an
this
X in the
in the
middle.
student union?
So all the years that I was in it or produced it, it was at GS Gengris.
Django.
But
Okay.
then the last year, I think when I was a senior, I think it took place in
The
the theater by
theater?
Conover.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's it called? I forget what it's called, but
The
that
theater
one.
by Conover.
Yeah, the theater by Conover. I
Yeah.
can't remember what that one was called, but it was really cool and it was in Gengris because they had to erect a stage with the white top and it was like a legit production, almost as if, like you're putting on a show because then we had to, curate and synchronize stuff with the DJ because we're doing like little snippets of songs and remixing stuff. So it's like, okay, these three people, like I remember one skit that I did when I was in the show, not producing it. I was dulce de leche in like this theme. And I don't know if it was like ice cream or like dessert or whatever, but like Ellen's face.
I'm like not expecting these things like an X-shaped stage.
An
Everyone has like a
X-shaped stage.
character they're portraying. This is like
No, like legit. It was a
wow.
real thing. And we had rehearsals, late nights, like and I'll never forget I think it was the first year that I was in the fashion show. There was this young lady who was producing it and she did not play. Like she could have done that. I don't know what she does today like for a living, but she was great at it and like she kind of choreographed everything. So we're like dancing, doing choreography and the
Well,
Dulce
that's
de
like
Leche team. There was
Antoine
like
during
three of
Red
us.
Caps with Duende and our dance and like our choreograph. I mean,
Absolutely.
like that was a real legitimate dance. Like It was a
Yes.
choreographed dance, like
It
for
was a
real.
choreographed dance for sure, and we had and just like how we had our rehearsals in Conover in the
Yeah.
great room there, like, we would have these rehearsals in, like, whatever rooms we could get available, but if we weren't able to get, like, a larger room, we would do it in the basement of, like, E-Complex or something like that.
Oh my
So we
god.
would be there late night trying to
Like
get it
where the
right.
chapter rooms were.
Yes.
I love that. It was just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
here's your chapter room in
absolutely.
the mold, in
Yeah,
the basement
absolutely, and
of
we
a
actually saw
of a
those meetings
jail.
happen sometimes because they would be, like, going to their little
They're me,
whatever,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
Doing
and
our
we would
little
be
secret
rehearsing
handshakes outside of our
like the
chapter rooms.
Masons.
Do you love how they like give you a room in the
Oh,
basement of a
man.
building and it's like yours to do with what you want? You know, we like painted it. We had like
Ah,
couches in
wow.
there. We had pizza parties down there. I'm like, I don't know what other people are doing in
That's
there, but it
wild.
sounds like it could have been really
It could have been
unsanctioned,
crazy.
unwatched.
It
Yeah,
could have been
exactly. We were
crazy,
just like,
and I'm
just
sure it is.
oh,
I'm sure it was.
I'm certain some of the people do insane stuff in there.
When you look at this, like, you look back on this stuff, it's just like, that was pretty wild, like,
I,
there were no
and we
adults, like
honestly were during a different time where like so much more was
different
regulated. I look
time.
back now, I'm like, think about like even 10 years and back into the 90s. Like what
Yeah.
kind of insane stuff went on that campus?
Oh my gosh.
You know, like
I
the
can
back
imagine.
parking lot behind the baseball field, behind the
Mm.
village. You know where the village parking, like behind the village?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then there's the baseball field, so there's the main parking, and then if you go all the way to the backside, there's
All
like
the
the
way
back
around.
back parking lot behind the baseball
Okay, I
fields.
think so.
I refuse to park there. I'd never heard anything that happened there or anything. I was just like, that just
No.
seems like a bad news
I think
bears
I've only gone there, like, a handful of
in the
times
daylight.
because but
Yeah,
with people when I
exactly.
did go.
I was like, I
Because it
don't
was the
trust
only
it.
place where you could, like, park after if it's late night or whatever, that
Oh,
was
I
a
would just
mess.
drive
Remember the parking
around and
situation? Just
around and
drive.
around.
Somebody's gotta leave at some
Someone
point.
has to leave at some point.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
my God.
There were
Yeah.
so many
So many
college.
little things like,
You
yeah.
know what? I
Wait,
was
I
just
keep
talking to
cutting you
someone
off
the
about
other
your
day.
your fashion
What?
show.
Oh, what else? That's it. I mean,
Well, what did you
it
wear
was crazy. I
when
wore a
you were
lot because
dulce de leche?
I was dulce de leche. I had on some type of like one piece type of situation, like a halter,
Oh,
and it was like a caramel color, whatever. Then I
cute.
did this French scene where I wore like one of my because it's a fashion show to fundraise, right? So
Are you
some
selling
of
the
the outfits
clothes
were
or is it
we
just the
did sometimes
tickets? Oh,
afterward,
okay.
but not like it's not like a showcase, but after the show was over, because some of the things were donated, the outfits. Some of the
Okay.
things, we would just have people who were very thrifty, like they would go to consignment or thrift shops, and we had a budget, obviously, to get some things. Some things were bought, from those places like Forever 21 or H&M or whatever, or if you had your
Charming
own things that could
Charlie's.
contribute that could contribute to the scene. And that in
Okay.
this one particular case, I had an outfit for the French scene that I wore. It was like these wide leg pants with the ruffle shirt and the beret and everything.
That's so fun.
And then when I was a producer, I don't think I was in any of the scenes. I can't remember. And I have, one of these days, maybe while you're here, I'll find one of my books because I had the book where I was in it.
Mm,
And we each, and I can go back to and look at my Facebook pictures and see like all of the pictures. But I
yeah.
had on this really nice like black dress that I wore like with my partner who I produced the show with, and yeah, it was just a
Did
whole
you
bunch of
sing?
different stuff.
Did you get to
Brandon was
sing?
in the fashion show. No, because it did anyone ever sing in the fashion show?
You
I
should
don't know that
have.
anyone did because it wasn't that type of thing. It was just like, like you're just
Brandon was
I
in
don't
the
know,
fashion
modeling
show?
the fashion show. Yes, and we laugh about the one thing that he came out to a Peaches and Cream by 112. You remember that
No.
song? Peaches
Yes.
and Cream.
Yes.
I need to put
Yes.
another
I
scene.
watched that music video on MTV a lot back in the
He
day.
had a skit or not
I
a
need it
skit,
because you
but
know
like
that
a
I'm a
scene for
fiend.
that. Yes, getting freaky in
Freaky
my
with the girl on the
limousine.
scene. You know what I mean? Peaches
It's the
and
S, the
cream.
L, the I, the
The
M.
V,
And he
the
had like a
D,
little
the D.
dance to
Yeah.
that. I will never forget it because I would watch him. Like we would be in rehearsals and I would watch him do his little thing. Oh my
That is
gosh.
so
So
funny.
funny. I'm definitely going to talk to him about that tonight as a memory. But yeah, it was really pretty cool, and it was like legit a show, and we were so I mean, we were involved, okay? Like
Wow.
after your classes, you get here and you get to
Yep.
rehearsing,
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
So, and I loved it because I love to put on shows,
Yeah. No,
and
you're so good at
that's
like producing things. I feel like that's like very
that's
impressive. You know,
a
you could
thing
put
for
on like a
me.
show, like a Broadway show in your
Oh,
future, like
not a
producing like
Broadway
a
show.
show or like not like a Broadway, but I mean like you know how
Who?
Gloria Estefan had like a musical about her life and it was all her music and it told
Oh,
the story of her life.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, it could
Oh,
be
yeah.
like
I get that.
like the Aja Moye music
Or like Alicia Keys
cow.
with Hell's Kitchen.
E- exactly.
So
Exactly.
amazing. To
Yeah.
me, that was like I'm not particularly a musical person, a musical
Yeah.
theater person.
Yeah.
But I love Alicia Keys, and when I got like advance notice, I guess in June or July, that she was doing this musical, and I was like, oh, and the way they described it, I was like, okay, I definitely want to see it. And so it was in previews, I think, and so I saw it at the what's it called? Is it the Public Theater? I think. Whatever. Girl, I sat front row center for that show.
Oh my
And when
god.
I tell you, but it was more so like watching a play, I guess, a
Okay.
live movie with Alicia Keys music
Okay.
as a soundtrack, as opposed to like in my mind being like the musical theater, the typical musical theater songs and stuff like that. I don't know. I hate to say that, but it didn't feel like the musicals that I've gone to in the past. And I
Okay.
think the major difference was it was an Alicia Keys soundtrack. It's all of her
Wow.
songs, and it was fantastic. Like
Mm.
they got nominated, I think, for 13 Tonys, and I was like, they deserve every single one. I
And
can't
they
even
deserve every one of
describe.
them.
I cried like I
Is that
mean,
this
it was
year?
no, it was November of last year that I went because
Oh,
at the
okay,
top
okay,
of
okay.
this year, I think is when her musical went on Broadway. So I saw it
Mm.
before, but it's all the
Okay.
same cast and everything that it was at the public theater or whatever it was called.
Okay.
But anyway, yes, I get exactly what you're saying, like a production
I could see you
in that
producing
type of
something
way.
like big like that.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
take it.
No, because you're very organized. You know what I mean? You're very organized and you're able to like well, I mean, I think you obviously are able to kind of like drive a creative force forward, like with people, your
Mm,
band, when you're showing up to different stuff, equipment, sound check.
hmm.
Like it's a little bit of
Yeah.
all the things. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's
Yes.
something that
Right.
like if you were to tell me, oh yeah, I'm producing like a show like that, I would be like, I would not be
Hmm.
surprised. I wouldn't be like, oh
Yeah.
really? Like, you know what I mean?
And you know what? It's funny because that all of those types of things that it takes to produce a show is also kind of like what I did in corporate. I was a project manager. So, and before I did that, I was, event coordinator and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So it was all kind of in that same line. And I'm
in that
able to
vein.
take those exactly, able to take those
Mm.
certain skills and abilities and
You
apply
know,
it
it's funny. It's
where it
like
needs
all
to
that
be applied.
project management, moving all the. It's so funny. Like we definitely that element of like the last podcast that just went live a couple weeks ago about like control. It's funny
Hmm.
that we found ourselves in roles where we like were orchestrating
Yeah.
project manager or just like oversee director of operational stuff like my sisters and
Yes.
similar. It's like this creative person that
Hmm.
is organized. I think is a perfect suit for like quote unquote project management, product management, operations, whatever, because we can like
Yes.
see opportunity
Right,
in the
and all the
mess
parts
and all the
and
part
the yes,
exactly.
the moving parts. Right, so I was having this conversation with someone, I forget who it was. I don't know, but we were talking about college and how different of an experience. Was it you? Maybe it was you. But we were talking about how
I was about to
different
say,
of an
who were you talking to
experience
that
it
wasn't
is.
me? Are they trying
That
to make a
wasn't me.
podcast with you?
Hello?
Get out of here.
Oh my gosh. That's the bully. That's Ellen the bully. Uh But we were talking about the difference between going to college in a place like New York City versus a campus.
Mm.
Was that you?
I don't know if that was me, but I definitely know I've thoughts on that.
Yeah, because like I was watching a movie or a show and the kids were like in the city, right?
Oh,
And I
really?
was just like, that's to me, that seems so strange because you're just like out in the world. I could be passing a bunch of people. No one goes to my school. These are just
Yeah.
regular people living their lives. And then I'm having this like college experience. It seems like the campus route, which is obviously what you and I experienced, was a smoother transition into because we were like in this contained
Yeah.
world. There were definitely outside people and all that type of stuff, but we were in a contained environment where it was
Yeah.
just like this is every and it was not huge, but it was big enough
Mhm.
to have like to feel like a small city. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I know when I was looking at colleges, that was I wanted a campus because my
okay.
sister went to school that like had a main area, but it wasn't a closed campus. And she went to school
Okay.
in
Maybe it was you.
like a city area, and I just like it was
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
I loved going to visit her and I enjoyed that. But I was like, I just really want like a college
That
experience,
feel.
you
Yes,
know?
exactly.
Um,
Like you're all walking to class,
yes.
across the bridge or whatever.
Yeah,
It was
100%.
very I love that. I think that's and I feel like college is obviously for obvious reasons it's a very different experience if you go into like a city environment where you have one campus here, one building here and then 3 blocks down it's another building. But it does make for I feel a more and I could be very wrong. This is just my perception. It's like a tighter bond because you're like living with
Oh
these
yeah, cuz and it's
people,
also like
you know?
I think there's also an element too if you go to school in like a city, like
Mhm.
it could be pretty isolating if you don't find like your people.
Your people. How can you find your people? Everybody's everywhere.
Everyone's very
You're all
like
spread out in this
disconnected.
huge city. Yeah.
I definitely know I was looking for a campus. I wanted a
Mhm.
campus. And I liked that it was like a closed campus. I liked that it like well,
I like
closed, but
that
there was like a
too.
Montessori school on campus. Like what? I was like, what?
I know.
Like a
It was
public
different.
like a
It was
school.
down the road. But
It
yes.
was on campus.
No, are you talking about the Academy of like Science or whatever it was?
No, no, no. That was around the backside outside the village.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Montessori
yeah.
school that was diagonal from the parking lot from the business school.
What?
When you would drive onto campus,
From Barney?
yeah, like when you would drive onto campus, you know how you could turn
Yep.
left to go to the
Oh, yes,
admissions?
yes, 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 and then if you go up a little
If you
bit more
go
to the
right and go
right,
behind GSU and go to
it was
Village
to the
that way,
right.
there was a
Yes,
literal school
that is
that
true.
the education students would go and do their hours in. So like
Yeah, yeah,
Lynn would
yeah.
taught in the school one year instead of
Right,
having to go
right.
into like the town.
This is what I'm saying, though. It was a
Very
city in and of
self-contained.
itself. It was very contained.
Yeah,
You
even the
had,
whole
you
area
could do
there,
your
it was like
hours.
very like yeah, very interesting. Like there was like woods and there was a creek, there was like a river through the river through the
There was a
campus,
creek.
and then there was like the
Right, there was a
woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's yeah.
You know?
And they
Yeah, there was
they
a
rebuilt the
whole
bridge. That was the year
yeah.
that I got
Oh, did
my
they?
freshman year was when I got I think my freshman year was when the bridge was reopened
Oh,
because
I don't
it
even remember.
separated the
Academic
where
center from
Hawk
the
Hall was,
residential. Yeah.
the freshman residence. It
Mhm.
separated it from the library, so it made it much easier for us to get to
Yeah.
class because my first semester freshman year, we had to walk through the woods past the theater that we don't know the name of, past the
Oh, you
Conover.
had to go the long way,
Yeah. I
and
had to
that
go
is a
that way
long
or I
way.
had to go up through the complexes,
Yeah.
through the art school
Yep.
parking lot to get to
Yeah.
campus. I mean, it was a trek
Right.
for Hawk Hall, for it
It
being
was a
like the
trek.
newest, brand newest, great
Right,
residence to live
right.
in. It was
Right
the
across the way
worst
from
location
yeah,
to
at
live
that
in
time.
to when the bridge wasn't there. When the bridge opened,
Yeah.
I was flying.
It was perfect.
Easy
You were right
peasy.
there.
I was right
Right
there.
there.
Exactly. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I should just cross the river.
I loved seriously, just get
Trek
your
up the river.
galoshes.
Yeah, get my galoshes, go in the river. I only ever went in the river one time to change the rocks for red caps.
Oh,
I
yeah,
never did
yeah.
it for my
I mean,
sorority.
okay.
So, for those of you listening, sorry, I should probably like tell you guys some of the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, change the rocks.
This
I
is
was
just an
like, okay,
Ellen and
I know
Naja
that already.
conversation. So the campus had a river that ran through it. Hashtag a river runs through it. That's a book.
A river runs through. Yes.
I don't know what it was called, but it was a river, and it was a
Oh.
real like rapids if it was raining. If it rained, it
Mhm.
was like
Yep.
crazy. My junior year, I think, it flooded from a hurricane and people's cars floated away in the river. Swear to God. Irene,
Wow.
Hurricane Irene.
Oh, Irene.
Yeah,
Mm.
Hurricane Irene. And then a month later, we had a freak snowstorm on, no, that was senior year.
That was in October. I remember
Yeah,
that.
so the freak snowstorm. Yeah. Oh my
Yes,
God, that
the
was a whole
power
thing.
went out.
Our
Oh my
power went
gosh.
out. We were had to leave campus. They told us to leave.
That was
I had to sleep in
wild.
GSU one night. They wouldn't
Did
let us.
you?
Yeah, they wouldn't let us stay in our complexes, in our apartments. And this was the year
Wow.
that I
Oh,
stopped
because they
being
were on generator at GSU.
exactly. And this was the one year that I had quit being an RA. And I was like, oh my God, thank God I'm not an RA. I have to deal with this. They
Right,
all
right.
went door to door to tell
To
people to
make sure.
leave their village apartments because the villages
Okay.
were all like individual. So like
Yes.
that wasn't like it with the heat and the water, like nothing was working for us. And
Mhm.
I think like Hawk Hall was working. I think like the freshman residences were working. Maybe Regents and Park
Oh,
River
okay.
were working, but the villages had to be evacuated. So they made
Oh,
us
so you
sleep in
lived in the village senior
GSU.
year.
Yeah, my senior year I lived in the village.
Ah, okay. How did you like that?
Um it was fine. It was fine. I had
Okay.
like a falling out with my roommate, one of my roommates in my
Mhm.
apartment from my sorority. Big drama.
Okay.
So I sadly moved out because I was like, I just don't want to live around this person.
Oh,
But
really?
Lynn
Where'd
was
you
my
go?
roommate, my best friend. So she was so sad. She was like, don't leave me. And I was like, Lynn, I can't stay here. So then I went and moved in with my friend who was an RA in the fives, Quaya. She was
Okay.
a RA in the village. In the village, you had two singles in an apartment. And that's the only place you
Right.
could get that, which is like very cush living. Very
Yes.
cush living. So then I
Very
went
much.
and moved in with her for the second half of my senior year.
Okay.
And it was lovely. I could
Oh.
see out of our
And
apartment
it was lovely.
living room onto the
Yeah.
whole of the village lawn.
Like that
And
long, okay, like the courtyard.
I watched the performance from what was it called? Spring
Ah,
Fling. I just watched it from my
yeah.
room, my
Nice.
apartment. Yeah, we had a good time living
Prime
together.
time. She
Um
basically lived in a high rise looking
no,
over Central
truly. That's
Park.
what I felt. Well, I didn't live in Park River, so I
Mm.
thought I would get Park River my senior year. That's why I was like, I'm gonna live
Yeah,
cush. I'm gonna have air conditioning. I'm gonna have
exactly.
a real
Park River was
kitchen.
awesome for
It was
that because they
literally like
actually had
apartment
central
living.
air.
Yeah.
And Regents, we did not. But you know what? I had cracked the code with the air because I had one of those fans that
Window
were like
fans.
one of the where one takes out the hot air
Takes
and it
out the
brings
hot air. I no
listen.
same.
When you came into my room, you couldn't tell me I didn't have central air, okay? It was so cool and
Oh my
refreshing.
god. Yeah, that was my
It's
I lived in
amazing.
your apartment my junior year.
Mm.
That I lived in
I
that
do recall that. Yes,
309,
yes,
right?
yes.
309,
I think, girl, I
something
don't
like that.
remember. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was the year I lived in your
Small
apartment
apartments.
because I went into
Wow.
and I had four single. I mean, RA apartments were pretty amazing.
They were the bomb, and
Yeah.
that was the pull for first of all, you get free room and
Free
board,
room and
1,
board.
and
Oh, and
then
that's
you get
it,
your own
actually.
room. Well, no, you get your own room.
Well, yes, but it's like free room and board, and we're acting as if it's going to be this like laundry list of things they give you, and
It's
it's
not.
like
That's enough.
free room and board.
Shoot. Free room and board is a
Well, yeah,
lot.
I mean, my student debt would be a lot worse if I didn't have the 2 years of RAing. Free room and
That
board.
was so funny. My student debt would be a lot worse if I didn't have
Yeah, yeah,
free
yeah,
room.
yeah,
But listen, for me, it was an option because I'm from Hartford.
yeah,
So my parents were like, okay, we want you to get the full college experience. So by all means, freshman year, live on campus and enjoy. But if you don't become an RA, girl, we live in Hartford. Like you're not come home. You know what I mean? And you could
yeah,
commute. And I was like, I don't want to commute. I want to be on
yeah,
college. I want to have the full college experience, all 4 years of college.
yeah.
So thank God, went for RA, got it. And they were like, okay, no problem. So
Well,
it wasn't an option for me to not
so that's
be
the
it.
crazy thing is that it was like you had to take a class when I had to
Mhm.
when I wanted to become an RA. Tell me if this is how it was for you. You had to put like a 1 credit class on your like schedule where you would go and take like an RA training class once a week. Then you interviewed
Once a week?
Yeah.
No.
Then you went and interviewed, and then you
Mhm.
maybe got the job, maybe didn't. So you had to invest all this time to taking this class and
Wow.
showing up to the
No.
class and being there and being a participant in the class. And there would be a rotation of RDs that would come and teach.
Interesting. No, I didn't have to do that. But the
And then
thing
you had to
is,
interview.
we had the interview, obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel like, in the Heart School, we had a lot of credits, right? So our schedules were very different. And I think too, the bonus of being like a Heart student was that a lot of Heart students weren't being RAs.
Yes.
So it offered like a different perspective of a student
So special treatment's what you're
in that
saying. You
role.
didn't have to take the
Absolutely is what I'm
class.
saying.
Yeah, you didn't have to take the
Maybe that's why I didn't have
class.
to take it, because they were like, "Okay, this girl already has 18, 20 credits. She didn't have time for another class."
Yeah.
But it's the first time we got a vocalist who wanted to be an RA. It's like, "Okay, fine.
Yeah.
It is
She's
what
going
it
to
is.
sing
I'll
the
be that
fire
one.
alarm.
I'll be the token." Right?
The
Get
token
around.
RA for Heart. You're going to be like, I can relate to these kids on a real level. The
On a real
3 Heart
level.
students that live in my building, I'm going to really connect with them. For those of you that
The
don't,
ones that love music,
okay, yeah.
okay?
For those of you that don't
Oh,
know, the
man.
University of Hartford had like quote unquote like schools or colleges within
Yes.
the university.
They were
So
actually schools, not
I'm like air quoting
schools,
them like schools or
colleges.
colleges. Well, they did. It was like the
It
like
was a
school of,
legitimate,
yeah, it was like
school,
schools of arts and
colleges.
science. Now I'm trying to pull on
Yeah.
my tour guide brain. It was like,
See? Oh, yeah, she was a red key.
yeah, I was a red key, a red cap, and an RA. I said I was a triple threat.
All the R's.
I was
That's
my goal. I
right.
was going to
You
be a triple
were.
threat.
Triple threat
Um,
all her life.
And then for some reason, I couldn't get the placement that I wanted my senior year.
Oh,
Are you
so
joking? They put me in
annoying.
the
You gotta be kidding
complexes, and they
me.
didn't even put me in the upperclassmen complexes, which was close to parking.
Now
They
that's
put
an
me
insult.
in freshman housing.
That was the part I was so grateful to God, because if I had been an
I
RA in
never had
freshman
any experiences
complexes,
with freshmen. I was always
I was
upperclassmen
like,
housing.
it couldn't be
I
me.
would
I don't
never
know what
do
I would
that my
do.
senior year. I
I
was
would just
like,
be in my room the whole time.
I remember my
Couldn't.
conversation. It was like I've never like confronted like
Mhm.
like a superior in that fashion. And she was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, but like, you've been here,
But you
you're like
challenged them,
seasoned.
right?
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
good,
Oh,
good.
100. But that's the thing is I don't think I have ever really like put my foot down with a superior in that fashion and I
Yeah,
was like a freaking
until
kid.
that
I was
moment.
21 years old.
Of course,
And
yeah.
I was like,
But you
how
felt
can you do
strongly.
this to me? You knew I wanted to stay where I was, or at least be in Park
And
River
it's
or the
where
Village.
I'm
I was willing to
experienced
stay
and skilled.
in Regents. I was willing to
Yeah,
stay in Regents. I was like, I have no
absolutely.
desire at
To
all
be in a
to be
freshman
with
complex?
freshmen because I've never been with them, and so this is something that like
Right. I'm too mature.
it's my senior year. I'm doing an internship. I'm going to have my car on campus to drive to campus. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go live where the freshmen live, which was on the farthest away
The
from
other
parking because
side.
freshmen didn't typically have cars.
Right,
So,
right.
and where the parking was that was in front of their buildings was like temporary, not overnight
Not
parking. It was like
overnight.
an
Right.
hour or during the day.
Yeah.
So I went in and I was like, I really advocated for myself. I was just like, you know, you knew what I wanted. You knew what my plans were for the next year. Like we've worked
And this is
together.
where I've excelled, which is why you
Yeah,
hired me again the year anyway.
exactly. I was like,
And what did they say?
well, you know who I'm not going to say here, but you know who I had to have that
Yes,
conversation with.
of
And it
course.
was just basically like a reiteration of the same thing. Well, like you're like you're senior, so I think it'd be, you're like a senior RA, so it'd be good for you to like be a guide for those because you know how there was like the senior RA on the team. There was always like the right
On what
hand to
team?
the RD.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was
Yep.
always like the like
Yes.
whatever they
For the
were,
RT. Yeah.
like
Mhm.
our mid tier level boss situation. I don't remember
Yeah, it
what it
was
was
like our
called.
advocate or whatever
Yes,
you
yes,
wanna
yes.
call it. Yeah.
Um, she was like, you can go be that and like that. I think literally was like a comp. Like it wasn't even
That's
C
where
or
I live.
D. Like it was far.
No. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, I was just like, this is what I really like. I wanted to stay where I am, or I wanted to be in the village, or I wanted to be in Park River. I was like, I just don't understand how you could do this to me, knowing what I have
Mm.
told you going
How
into
you
this.
could do
No,
this to
seriously,
me.
that's how I put it. I was like, you did this to me because you had the choice, because I am a senior and I
Yeah.
should have priority of where I want
Mhm.
to live and how this will work best for my life. And I
Yeah.
was like, I have goals. I have things I have to do. I have to have an internship. Like in the industry I'm in, I
Right.
can't not have an internship. And I was like,
Yeah.
and that's how I really, I was like, I was very dramatic. I was like housewives vibes. I was like, how could you do this to me?
How could you do this to me? Question mark.
How could you do this to
Because
me?
you're essentially forcing my hand to make a
Oh
choice because now I
man.
have to decide between internship
Or my RA
or my RA
role.
because I'm going to be doing an internship like in an office setting, like 9 to
Yeah.
5 during the
Right,
week
right, right.
in heels, pantsuits, like going to work. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
walking
yeah.
my ass in the snow in heels to, Timbuktu parking lot.
Right, right.
It's like, this
And
is,
and also, I'm a senior.
yeah,
I've been an RA at this point for going on 3 years. I
yeah.
should have seniority, so whatever I choose should really
And that's
be
what it
the
was
most I
presented
know
to us
everyone
as.
can't get that, but
But that's how
shouldn't
it was
be.
presented. Like that's over the course of being an
Yeah.
RA, that's how it was presented to us was like when you're a
Of
senior,
course,
you
yeah.
basically pick where you want to go.
Get what you want. Exactly.
You do your time and then you pick where you want to go. And then I was like, this is a
Right, and choose
slap. I
everybody else
said,
around
I go,
me.
this is a slap in the face of
Mhm.
2 years of hard work, showing up, being responsible, being accountable.
Right,
I've done
right.
everything that has been asked of me. I've done by the letter because she used to be like, will you complain? She would say to me when I worked there, you complain, you complain. I go, there's a difference between complaining
She
and
was my favorite.
making a comment on something that shouldn't be or advocating for us or the group or whatever. I was like, trust, like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like when it was just this, if I had been, and to this is this, oh man, this really irked me. And
Yeah.
if I had been a cute boy RA,
Ooh, remember
squeaky,
that?
squeaky
Oh my
wheel, you know how like the squeaky wheel gets
gosh.
the oil kind of,
Yes,
she would have
yes,
been
yes.
my best friend. She would have
Head over
loved on
heels.
me.
Absolutely.
She would have been like, wherever you want to go. She wouldn't have let me leave her. That's the thing. And that's the cruel part of
That's
it.
the part.
That's
That's
the
the part.
part is that I would have gotten whatever I wanted if I had been a man because of her own
Mm.
insecurities. It was like, it's
Oh
so
my
sick that it was so
gosh.
obvious because she had been heavier.
Wow. You are
She
bringing
had been
back so
heavier
many
her whole
memories.
life.
Oh
Remember?
my
And then
lord.
there
Oh
was all
yeah, I
these cute
remember.
young college guys that were loving her and she was
While she
thin
was married
to a very attractive hot
to
man.
another attractive
But
man.
that speaks to the insecurity is
Oh my
not
gosh.
solved when
Mm.
someone loves you.
No.
You need to love you. Really.
Yes.
Because the way that this person was,
Ellen is reading this person.
oh, to filth. Because the way that this person was, in my opinion, if she had been a man and it were
Mhm.
girls on the team, on the staff, on the team,
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been called out immediately.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, it was giving, you know,
It was very controversial
it was
and
giving like
inappropriate. It
teacher
was
in a grade school with
inappropriate.
a student vibe. Like it was, I
Absolutely.
mean, anybody that was there that was of like emotionally
Everyone
mature,
can attest.
anyone
Everyone
that was
can attest.
emotionally mature, not the young guys on the team who were like excited for this hot for teacher vibe, and not
Right,
her
right.
because she clearly had
That
like
needs
some
the attention.
emotional stuntedness. But the rest of
Mhm.
us called it for what it
Right.
was,
This is
inappropriate to the
not.
max.
Yes,
And I
absolutely.
just liked her very much because of it. And it obviously clearly showed.
You
And she
listen, you
said,
didn't I
get this
wasn't a
chick
fan
off
either.
my staff.
I had a lot of problems with her from the jump. And
And I mean,
I remember going
you're
into
not
that.
someone that I would expect would have problems with someone,
Thank you.
you
I
know?
can pretty much get as long as you're somewhat reasonable,
Yeah.
I can get along with you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We can at least coexist and
And the
work
fact that
together
you guys
at
had
the very
issues,
least.
I really felt like she was like
But we have
anti-woman.
issues. And I felt bad too in the beginning because she came in when I found out that I was going to be on the Regents staff. Everyone was super excited, like, "Oh my gosh, you got the best RD! Like everyone loves her. She's so chill." Da da da.
Yeah.
Girl, we had our training like before the school year started or whatever, and that person announced that they were leaving. So everyone was distraught, like, wait, what? Where are you going? And so this person who we're talking about at this moment came in these like huge footsteps that she had to fill, right? So, but it wasn't like, at least from my perspective and from the people that I was, around or whatever, it wasn't like we didn't give her a fair shake. She just came in very abrasive and not not what she needed to be
She
as
was
a
very
professional.
aggro.
Oh my gosh, she was so, and she would say, oh. This is what happened. I was very much over her emails. She had zero email etiquette. She would send emails in all caps, calling people out and whatever. And we had all like galvanized as an RA team, and we're like, yeah, like we don't like how she does this. She's not doing this, and she really needs to represent us in this way. Da, 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 da. And so we had like our team meetings, right? Before the meeting, everyone was on point. It was like 1, 2, 3, break. We're on it, right? We get in the team meeting, and then there was something that was done, and she wanted to discuss it. And she was like, "Does anyone have any like objections or whatever?" And so I'm thinking everyone's gonna raise their hand. It was like me and one other young lady. And I was like, "Really,
Way to
guys?"
hang me
And
out to
so
dry.
right, they hung us out to dry. So whatever, we both state our grievances because this is the forum to do so. You've opened the door and the platform for us to share our opinion. We do that. She wants to speak to me afterwards because I disagree with what you said. And you know me, I'm not like, first of all,
No,
you
you're
need
not
to,
in.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
not doing
no.
that. I'm coming at you. I'm a professional. I'm like even tone unless you get me hot, like whatever. So, and I could not stand that I didn't trust her as like a boss. And it was I didn't have a lot of bosses that I didn't get along with. There were just two that I can name in the course of my every job that I've
Same.
ever had.
Same.
And she was one of them that I
Hmm.
just really could leave it. Take it or
Yeah.
leave it. And yeah, so I know exactly what you dealt with in that senior year. I can totally imagine. And I remember her being, and I had kind of forgotten about that, but yeah, she was very much inappropriately, you know, like keying and flirting with these
Oh,
young
you would like go into
people.
the male dorm room, RA dorm room, and she'd be there, and he'd be like serenading her with a guitar. I'm like, this whole
Like, what
scene
the heck
is
is
just
happening here?
grotesque.
This is right. This
You
is not
know,
right.
just absolutely
Mm.
grotesque.
I
And it was
wonder where
like,
she is today.
I'm so curious where she is today because
Right?
like what
Me
because the whole
too.
thing about RDs is that they're RDs and they get free room and board
They also, while they get their graduate
while
degree
they're
or
getting
something,
their
right?
graduate degree. So that's the thing is like everybody's in there for an exchange of
Yeah,
goods, an exchange of
absolutely.
I need some that's also a very ripe environment for an
It
abuse of
is.
power
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I
And
need my free room and board.
yes. Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was very, I mean, I just remember just being like, if you're a man on her staff, you're gravy.
You're fine.
And that's
Exactly.
so,
But if you're a female with opinions and you're professional, you know what you're doing and you don't really take any stuff, look out.
and you know what? I have run into situations like that. I mean, we started talking about like, before we got on the podcast, talking about like when I was in high school and I had a lot of issues with my
Mhm.
culinary teacher.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, there have been situations in my life where I've come up against like these like strong female personalities that
Mhm.
I think chafe against my strong female personality. And it's
Yeah.
taken time for me, I think, as an adult, because I was a kid. I've been a
Yeah.
kid, you know, I'm like,
Yeah.
they're all much older than me. So I was
Mhm.
learning how to refine expressing myself, learning how to like navigate difficult situations, learning how to mitigate my own emotions in conversations. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yes. Yeah.
16 coming up against a 40 something year old culinary
Right.
teacher who already
Yeah.
is a volatile personality. If you've watched The Bear, if anyone's seen any cooking
I
shows,
haven't seen it, but I hear it's great.
you know who Graham Norton is at all. Not Graham Norton.
Mhm.
Graham, what's that guy? That chef guy?
Not Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, you
yeah. But I love him.
personalities can be a bit prickly.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and so I ran into that personality and had to deal with that situation. And then, you know, later on I had this RD who I didn't really like and didn't really get along
Mhm.
with. And then I had a professor at the University of Hartford who I actually found out that RJ had a
Mhm.
conversation with her about me being like, she's the best, isn't she? And her being like, yeah, I like her. I think she's really smart. I think she's like really going to go places. But she treated
Mm.
me terribly. And
Oh,
RJ
that's
was just like, oh, well,
tough love.
they're tougher on the ones they like. I was like, I'm a more with honey than lemons person. Like, I'm going to sour on
Exactly.
you and you're not going to get nice
Anything
Ellen
out of
back.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing sweet here.
We were handing in papers one day for class, and everyone, like,
Yeah.
it went like around in a U shape. All the papers, like, you gave me yours, I took it, I passed it to the next person. That person had 3, the next person had 4, whatever. And
Yeah.
I was taking mine out of my like carry bag and putting it like in a nice folder.
Yeah.
And so mine was like 2 behind the group. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, there's all the ones that have gotten up, and I'm like, mine's just making its way to the group. If the person had just held on and waited for mine to get to
One more
there,
second. Yeah.
but no, just, says whatever. Oh, here, pass mine up, pass mine up. And
Yeah.
she gets the pack of them all, and she goes to move
Uh-huh.
on. And this one's like, oh, like,
Very
professor.
specific example.
Well, the
I love
professor,
it.
they go, professor, here's this other one. And she's just, who's this? I was like, oh, it's mine. She was just like, it's late. It's marked late. The postman waits for no one because it was a PR class and press kits and everything. It's very
Are
timely.
you
I
kidding me?
shit you not. She was my advisor.
Ah,
Freshman year, she
no.
was my advisor. And I was like, what? She's like, this is being marked late. The
So
postman
did you
waits
like lose
for no
points?
one. Yeah, it was marked down a
Oh
grade.
my
It was marked down
gosh.
a grade. So I was like,
Oh,
what the heck? Like, oh my God. And a couple more things happened.
yeah.
And I went and spoke to uh, another, actually, like the head of the comm school, who was my professor in another class. And I was like, just trying to get some
Yeah.
advice. She's like, well, why don't you go talk to her? Like, try to see if you can air some grievances, like, whatever. So after
Mhm.
class, I was like, oh, like, professor, I was like, can we stay and talk for a second? And I was like,
Yeah.
I just want to like start this conversation. And I'm freshman in college. I
Yeah.
was like, I just want to start the conversation apologizing. If there's anything that I have like said or done that has upset you, or, was, deemed disrespectful in this classroom, like, I'm sorry. Like, I just want to start with
Right,
that
right.
because I just feel like maybe we got off on the wrong
Right.
foot, or something's
Yeah.
not right. I feel like there's just been a couple of instances where it just hasn't really felt like good.
Yeah.
And she was like, no. That's the worst. When
Okay.
the person you're coming up to and you're trying to like smooth or figure out
Yeah,
something, and they're just
exactly.
like,
And
what are you
they're
talking
just
about?
like,
Everything's fine. I was like, well, with the marking me
then she's
late
really
and
crazy.
yeah, she was really crazy. She was. And then
Yeah.
RJ was like, oh, she was my favorite teacher. I was like, I don't understand. I don't understand how that could be
Wow.
someone that
I
you
don't know.
like. He's like, oh, I've gone to her house for dinners. Like, I love her. I was just like, uh, I,
Wow.
I cannot. I was like, not for nothing. Not
Yeah.
for nothing. There are, I feel like, women who love guys, gay or straight, who just like really jive with
Mhm.
men, and then they don't
Yeah.
jive with women,
With fellow women. That's a very I
And
was just gonna
so,
say because it's maybe he's a male, that's why.
well, that's exactly it. So,
Mhm.
and it's interesting because so that was another situation. So
Yeah.
I changed my advisor.
Tone
I
at that point.
never took another PR class, even though my major was communications, advertising, PR. I thought
No, it's nothing else.
I focused on the communications advertising track. I never took another PR class, which is funny because my first job was
Wow.
PR related.
PR, naturally.
And I obviously crushed it. Uh, Lego loved me. But all this to say, fast forward to the RD situation, because that was my
Yeah.
sophomore, junior year. Then I graduate, start working. I go into style.com,
Mhm.
working professional. Pretty much everything was like okay there. But I felt like just that's a whole other story, is like not fitting in your workplace and feeling very out of place. And
Mhm.
like, I mean, I was working in luxury fashion in Manhattan, and I was like so not that I
Yeah.
felt super out of place. But we get to Vogue because Vogue absorbed us.
Mhm.
So I'm very much like the Anne Hathaway Devil Wears Prada, not
Of
supposed to be
course.
here. Like,
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
not supposed to be here.
Right.
And I'm there, and this woman, she was like the head of like digital something or other. And now I'm like a young 25, 24, 20, 25. I'm there.
Okay.
Um, going, yeah, 25. And like, I created a lot of things that made us a lot of money when I was at Style, made us more money at Vogue. I was kind of like this trusted person. I got promoted very quickly, um, and I think
Yeah.
she saw that as like a very threatening thing and
Mm.
would like take my work and present it as her own in like company meetings and yeah, like
What?
just yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I'm like trying to figure out how do I navigate this with
Yeah.
like as someone who's like it wasn't until I got to refinery that I think I found the language to articulate like what was all like how do I articulate myself in these situations. But I was just like, what did I do to her? Like, what did I
Right.
do? And then as I've now gotten older, I know how to express myself. And it's just like there's these women who I
Mm.
think that you have to
Oh,
pay a dues
that's
that
so
they
sad.
paid, which is
Mhm.
not necessarily true because if they're at the table, where's the due? Like, bring me to the table too. I
Then
shouldn't have to
exactly
also pay
change
due.
the freaking
There's that,
exactly.
right? There's enough room at the table, and I don't have to
Yes.
fight because I had another woman that I worked with at refinery. She wasn't there that long, and she was a similar energy, and it just
Yeah.
always came from a place of like, we never really had issues, but she was just very like rough, and I think that I had learned by this point, I'm like 26 now at this point, 27, and I'm like 26. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you kind of have to really play her to make her not hate you and be mean. And I hate
That's
that. I think that
crazy.
that's horrible.
That is
And
horrible.
she asked in a
Absolutely.
meeting one time because we had this like interpersonal like speaker come to refinery and give a speech, and she raised her hand and she goes, well, what if you come up against like women who aren't supporting other women, like it's like reverse sexism or something like that. She's one of those like reverse racism
Mm.
kind of ladies who would say something like
Yeah.
that. And the
Yeah.
woman just looked at her and was just like, it's more a reflection of the person asking the question why other women aren't helping women. And she like nailed her to a cross in that moment. It was we
Wow.
all because all of us knew she's the
Yeah.
problem.
Of
And we
course.
all were just
Right.
like, I was like,
Oh
we all need
gosh.
to go out to coffee after this because she's gonna be on a
Yeah.
terror.
Yeah.
We can't be in the
So
office. Yeah.
much.
And
Right.
it just
Right.
kind of became this thing where you just notice there's women in the world. And it's
Mm.
so unfortunate. Like to know that
It is.
RRD would have given me what I wanted if I was a man. And
If
that
you
it's
were a
a
male.
woman keeping me from something that I was
It's a
hoping for.
woman.
Do you know what I
And it
mean?
hurts. It hurts.
Yes.
It really, really
It
does. And it's
hurts more when a
sad.
woman does something like that because I've
Absolutely. Because it's
encountered
like we
men.
should be on the same type
Yeah,
of like, I
I've
understand where you're
encountered
coming
men that are
from and vice
terrible
versa.
that you work with and have
Of
done and
course.
said rude things or be just terrible. But when it's a
Yeah.
woman, you're like, girl, like
What
we have
happened to you?
similar experiences of life. Like, what
Yeah.
happened? Why do
Right.
you hate? Why are you hating?
Women. Why do you hate
I'd
women?
have never understood. I will never understand
And you
that.
never
Women who hate
will
women.
because that doesn't, it's not illogical.
No.
So how can we try to make sense of something that doesn't
No,
make
but
sense?
I'm just going to armchair expert and therapize from the corner and try to like
Yes.
understand what's wrong and
Absolutely.
what has happened. You know,
Yeah.
with my professor, I was
Mm.
like, in my mind, I mean, that was that was rough, but I was just like, those who can't do teach. In my head, it's a mean thing to say. That is like a
It
mean
is.
thing, I
Yeah.
think, because it's somebody who like
It is.
wants to do the thing and then it just didn't happen, didn't materialize, whatever. But
Right.
in my
Right.
head, to like make sense of her
Of
behavior,
how she was treating you.
I was
Yeah.
like, she's in the suburbs of
Like, oh,
Connecticut
she's
teaching
jealous of
PR
what
at
I'm
a
gonna accomplish,
university. She's jealous of like how well liked I
my
am and how
potential
my
or something.
exactly like,
Yeah.
and instead of watering the ground where you are, she
Mhm.
was like just thought she would get more
Stepping
out
on
of me
you.
and like with crushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. And
Mm.
that's the crazy thing is like, the fact, and then you have to look at yourself because I really have done the reflection of like, am I
Yeah.
the problem? Because I'm the
Right.
only I'm the common
I'm the
denominator.
common denominator.
Do you know what
Yes,
I mean? And it's like, yeah,
absolutely.
I do
Yeah.
know that there have been times in my life when I've been rougher around the edges. I'm not as polished about expressing myself. Like I've been in therapy, I've learned, like I grew up. I've been growing up, right?
Right.
But, there's situations and you have to look at yourself and be like, am I the problem in that situation? And in every
Mhm.
situation, I feel like I can objectively stand back and say like, well,
No, I am not.
the teacher, the culinary
Yeah.
teacher in grade school and high school, she was going through a divorce
Mhm.
and she was in a situation where she used to be a professional, like sought after chef. She was a private chef for Eddie
Mhm.
Murphy. Like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, but at some point something happened. She had
Something
kids.
happened.
She was married. She became a teacher. She no longer could open her store, her restaurant she wanted. There's a lot of like squandered dreams and potential that can make
Absolutely.
someone angry, and then they're going through a divorce and that makes them like lash out. Then
Yeah.
you see this professor in college, similar situation, high power PR, da da da, like making it, and then married, kids in the Connecticut suburb, teaching at a university, maybe unhappy with maybe how things
How their
unfolded,
life turned out. Yeah.
maybe didn't really love the momming in West
Mm-hmm.
Hartford, Connecticut, maybe that
Yeah.
wasn't her
Yeah.
vibe because she was rough New York energy, like big time, so I could imagine.
She was rough New
I could
York
imagine the like
energy.
Stepford energy of West Hartford not being
Ah.
pleasant for her.
Oh,
Do you
of
know what I
course.
mean? With
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
moms,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I have to look at that. Like the woman at Vogue, unmarried. One of the women that I've met in my media experience, these women, I call them like married to media. They just
Mm-hmm.
pursued this career and sacrificed everything. And I think without the choice to sacrifice other stuff. I'm eyes
Yeah.
wide open, not married, not with kids. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that there is a bitterness that comes when someone put everything aside for their job and then
Oh,
they
yeah.
regret that because they
Yes.
didn't get to
Right.
have the other things they wanted.
The things that they really
And
aspired
so
to.
she
Yeah.
was someone who bought all the stuff and had all the hair appointments to get her hair blown out and
Mm-hmm.
and was very like everything is amazing and perfect in my life, but it was like oozing with everything that was not working out for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
just all these situations where I kind of looked and I was like, God, I just don't want to be an angry person. This is how you wind up treating other people,
Right.
you
When you're
know?
upset about your own life, then you take it out
Yeah.
on other people.
Horrible, and it just sucks. It just sucks that you have to like you do wind up having to experience stuff like that. Like the fact that both of us separately in different timelines had
Yeah.
issues with the same RD, the fact that
Same
like
person.
who she was never evolved and changed and just continued to be an
Mm-hmm.
issue for like independent thinking women.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
It's
Right.
just
Right.
unfortunate. Like I say
Very.
this all to say I do think that there is like a silver lining because I love to wrap things up with a silver lining, but like there is at least an awareness that comes from these experiences for us
Yeah.
of like
Absolutely.
I would
Always
never
something to
want to
learn.
be that.
Uh-huh.
So I am very
Yeah.
conscious to be a advocate for young women in the workplace and give
Yeah.
people opportunity if I can give it to them, connect a dot to another person for them if I can, like truly. Then
Right.
if you don't learn and don't do the work for yourself, then I'm not going to be your friend. But
Then it is what it is. But you chose that,
you know what
not
I
me.
mean? You're going to sink, but I gave you a
Yeah.
floaty. You know what I'm saying? You're the one that took the air out of it.
You gotta, yeah, exactly. You want to throw it to the side.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like, I didn't like this one. I'm like, sorry, it's the only one you get.
that's all I got. Right.
It is kind of
Oh
crazy to think
man.
back to those, to just all that stuff. I mean, even just like,
Mm-hmm. It is.
wow, God, it's funny. You like don't because I told you I was talking about like culinary classes with my mom yesterday. There's
Yeah.
just stuff I hadn't thought about in so long. I'm like, I wonder if I kind of sit and think about Hartford stuff, what will come
Yeah,
up.
it'll probably come all, crashing.
Oh my
And that's
God, yeah.
I enjoyed this because like certain things that you mentioned about that particular RD, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. I do recall that. And it's wild just to think of all those things and to think about that time and how and to also look back on it now, older, and more experienced, had more experience in the workplace and
Mm.
seeing it from a 30 something, perspective, just being like, yeah, we knew it was inappropriate then, but I don't know. She was probably about our age, I guess. I don't know how old she was.
Probably,
She
yeah.
was
She
probably
probably
like
was
early
like
30s,
or late 20s
late,
even.
late 20s. Yeah.
Okay, so on this note, this is all about
Yes.
women supporting women.
Thank
Olive,
you.
how do you feel about the situation?
She
Great.
said, support your girl.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
There we
Think
go.
and this was just a really fun episode, remote-ish.
Yes. Yeah, remote-ish. We're
Oh my
closer
God.
in
Oh yeah, I actually have to hit the road. I gotta
distance.
go into the city for
Oh, yeah, you gotta go.
dinner with an old college friend.
Look at that.
There you go. Talk about Hartford. I'm
Perfect.
ripe for memory
Perfect.
conversations now.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's gonna be great. That's gonna
Yes.
be gosh, I'm
Love it.
excited for you.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for
Well,
listening and
yes,
watching.
indeed. We
Hope
just had
you,
a feel-good time today, just
yeah,
kinda
this is just like a
reminiscing
feel
on
good
things.
chat.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed it. Love you all. Thank you so much. Like, comment, share,
Yes.
subscribe,
All the things.
all the things. And we will
Yes.
see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.
The Regents podcast. The Regents podcast. I wonder if she's still
She looks
married.
like early 30. That's what I was wondering this whole time. I'm just like, did they make it?
See if I can
Because
find something really quick.
can we end this so that we could talk about this freely?
I know we're like, guys,
Are
I'm
you
like,
actual?
we're diving into now like a bit of a
Basically
gossip
done,
session.
and
That's not what the podcast
not
is.
what it's about.